We've got an amazing special guest for you here on the Jim Masters Show Live. We're so excited about it. A broadcast veteran, a beloved personality on television, and so much more. Of course, you know him as a prolific and revered and Emmy-winning personality, announcer for quite a few years with a great track record. The Price is Right and other game shows. If you just thought he was on The Price is Right as Come On Down, well, guess what? He's done a lot more than that. We're going to talk about that. Meteorologist, motivational speaker, author of a fabulous new book as well, where he takes us behind the scenes of The Price is Right, but also talks about trusting your inner GPS, how trusting, this is how Rich really tells his story in such a very incredibly connecting and empowering and inspiring way, how trusting my intuition manifested my way to becoming Bob Barker's announcer on The Price is Right by Rich Field. This is hot off the presses, folks. He's very excited about it. This has been a labor of love for Rich. Again, as I've mentioned, Rich Field's a beloved figure in American broadcasting, many, many years on game shows as a fantastic announcer and entertainer, most notably The Price is Right. And he had the luxury and the opportunity, and I'm sure he will attest to this when we have him on in just a second, a real blessing to work in such a legendary game show, beloved television series, still number one on CBS and daytime television all these years. And of course, he had an opportunity to work not just with the beloved Bob Barker, who we lost recently, and we did an actual tribute special here on the Jim Masters Show Live to the legend of Bob Barker, but also Drew Carey. Had an opportunity to announce for and work with Drew Carey as well. But the relationship and the love for Bob being such an incredible broadcast veteran, such an incredible host of course, first Truth and Consequences, and then Price is Right for 35 years. Rich had a wonderful friendship with Bob. He tells these extraordinary stories. And, he's had such fond memories of his time with The Price is Right. So that might be, on the national scene where you've known him from and have loved him from. And you can actually see clips on, some of the nostalgic networks and YouTube of Rich doing his thing in his incredible, unique style. Come On Down, of course, which was originally created by the one and only Johnny Olson, the original announcer, Mark Goodson and Bill Todman Productions, the beloved late Johnny Olson. Of course, not just The Price is Right, but Match Game and so many other shows. And then, of course, Rod Roddy and Randy Weston there as well, and now George Gray. But Rich Fields made his mark on this show for a long time. And, also warmed up the audience and had an opportunity to really engage. And this, of course, these shots are from Rich, Television City in Hollywood. When you would hear that at the CBS Broadcast Center there at Television City, you knew what was going to happen. And it was excitement. Come on down and, fabulous prizes. Bid, win. It's one of my favorite television shows. You guys know I work in the industry, so I love The Price is Right. And, as I mentioned, he is a fantastic, in addition to all the years with The Price is Right and other game shows, he is a spectacular motivational speaker. And when he speaks, he commands the audience in a way that they don't want to leave. He's just so eloquent and his stories are extraordinary. So we're going to talk about that. And also, in addition to that, he has been the weatherman. Yes, a meteorologist in Tampa Bay, Florida, in Los Angeles as well. So we're going to talk about, what he's done post The Price is Right. He's very engaged and very, very active. If you've wondered, if you didn't see him on television per se, what has he done since? He's crafted this extraordinary career. And he was just telling me, post The Price is Right, that some of the work he's doing now as a motivational speaker is a real true calling for him. So we're going to tell you how you can actually avail yourself of the opportunity to, use his services as a motivational speaker. But again, this fabulous book that we're talking about that literally is hot off the presses, available at Amazon.com and richfields.tv, which is a fabulous site. That is his, a lot of nostalgia, a lot of cool things there as well. You can get the book. It's available now. And as I mentioned, it's been a labor of love. And could you imagine? It's something that he's always dreamed of, and he manifested it. He was able to get there on that stage, Television City, CBS, on The Price is Right with Bob Barker, and just the whole experience, extraordinary. It's really a fantastic thing. How many people in this industry that we're in dreamed of hosting or announcing or just being a part of, or even being in the audience of The Price is Right? Millions of people around the world. Rich had an opportunity to do it, and he tells about it in a glorious way. A lot of comments coming in. If you'd like to comment during the show, we're very interactive at the Jim Masters Show Live series. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, and you can comment in the Lovely Hole chat room. You can connect with us, might even sprinkle a comment or two on the screen as well. It's so nice to have all of you here. I'm your host, Jim Masters. Let's welcome our very special guest. I bet you think he's coming from LA, right? Or Chicago or New York. No, he makes his home in beautiful Florida in Clearwater, home to the Home Shopping Network. Got a lot of friends that work there as well. Let's welcome our illustrious guest, the one and only Rich Fields on the Jim Masters Show. Rich Fields, come on down.
Wow, you're calling me to come on down. That's pretty cool. Nobody ever does that.
Nobody ever does that. But I bet you get stopped in airports, supermarkets, when they recognize you or they even hear the voice and they say, please, can you say that for me, right? And you're very good about doing it.
Oh, yeah, always. Very happy to do it. I had heard stories, this was in later years, and Rod wasn't feeling well, and he was traveling, and somebody came back with a story that they had seen him in an airport and asked him, oh, Rod, call me on down, call my wife on down or something. And Rod was, again, I mean, we all know, what he passed away from. He was battling two different diseases. And he I don't know if he was curt to these people or what, but he didn't do it. And so these people get on the internet and kind of, run him down that oh my God, this guy's getting paid all this money and he wouldn't, say, come on down. Well, I mean, number one, a lot was going on for Rod. But when I heard that, I always thought, you know what? I don't care where I am. I don't care how many years I'm out of having had the job, Jim, anybody asks me to say, come on down, I'm going to say, come on down.
Come on down. Absolutely. In addition to that, people might not realize this, but there's a lot of accolades and honors that you've accrued over the years, Rich. And again, I've always admired your work. I was mentioning, class act, professional,
thank you, brother.
Funny, witty, very engaging with people and with the audience. You hold the record for announcing the most television game show titles in a single season, 7 different shows. Tell us about that and the shows. That's incredible.
It is. It's crazy. And I was able to do that because all 7 titles were encapsulated into one television series called the Game Show Marathon. And so Game Show Marathon every week was going to be a different game show. You had to get through these 7 game shows to end up the winner. In the end, I think Family Feud was the last game. Yes, I think it was. But anyway, nonetheless, there were 7 different show titles in that season of Game Show Marathon. And so I got this illustrious notoriety of having announced the most game shows in a single season at 7 different titles. Nine different titles in my lifetime I've lent my voice to. 9 different game shows.
Yes. What are those shows?
Wheel of Fortune. Obviously, I was called in the night that Charlie O'Donnell had passed away.
Yeah.
The executive producer, Harry Friedman from Wheel, called me at my home, and it was late. And I answered the phone. Actually, my wife came back to me in my studio, and she said, "Hey, it's Wheel of Fortune." I was like, "What? Wheel of Fortune?" I was perplexed, and she handed me the phone, and I said, "Hello," and the other end said, "Hi, Rich, this is Harry Friedman, executive producer of Wheel of Fortune." And I said, "Hi, Harry." And he said, "Look, I just want to make you abreast of something that's happened. Charlie O'Donnell has passed away." And immediately I thought, oh my God, and then it snapped to me. Why is Harry Friedman calling me? Then the next thing out of his mouth was, we're still producing shows tomorrow, and I want to know if you can come in tomorrow morning. And I was just blown away. Talk about coming in under weird circumstances, Jim.
Yes, exactly right. That wasn't come on down. That was come on in. That was an extraordinary opportunity to be a part of that as well. And in addition, a lot of people that are announcers and real tried and true broadcasters, which you have always been, and I can connect with that because I've been doing it as well all these years. You've worked for 18 different radio stations across the country, huh?
Yeah, town to town, up and down the dial, like the old WKRP in Cincinnati show. Are you old enough to remember WKRP?
WKRP in Cincinnati.
Yeah, town to town, up and down the dial. As a kid, I used to find that romantic. I talk about this in the book. I used to watch that show, and I'd find that jingle, that song at the opening of the show kind of romantic in the sense that, I knew I wanted to be a broadcaster, and I knew I needed this legacy of stations behind me. And yes. I thought, wow, that's what I want to do, man. I want to get a job at a station. I want to work there. I want to go move on to the next market, town to town, up and down the dial. And that ended up coming true.
And now all you have to do is a backflip in your swimming pool upside down on TikTok, and you can have that happen. The world has changed, hasn't it?
That's about right. That's about right.
It was the farm system, station to station, and you would get elevated. You start with $6 an hour at midnight to 5 a.m. at an AM station in Duluth. And then you work up your way from there.
But I looked at it as honing my craft. I knew I needed to get better. I knew I wasn't going to get, handpicked by Bob Barker to be his announcer on The Price is Right without having some kind of resume behind me, some kind of legacy. And so I was all in. I was game to get fired, and move on to the next station. I mean, nobody wants to get fired, but
it's part of the process.
Yes. It's part of the process.
Like a badge of honor.
In radio.
Yes, it's a badge of honor to be let go due to a merger, a consolidation, or new programming coming in.
Right.
Had you as a kid, now when I was a kid, I ran around with a Panasonic cassette recorder and I was interviewing people and we did plays in the garage and I knew the call letters and the announcers, the voices of God, the news anchors, the hosts. I was very cognizant of that very early on and very attracted to it. Studied it in school, did the whole WXYZ, all these different stations like you, but was game show, Price is Right. What was it for you early on that attracted you even to the industry at all, Rich?
It's going to sound so weird, but I was always attracted to voices. And so as a little kid, I talk about watching Truth or Consequences with Bob Barker, and that was when I first got turned on to Bob. But, I was watching this crazy show, and I loved the opening announcer, Truth or Consequences. I'd mimic that guy, or, the FBI, a Quinn Martin production. I mean, I'd mimic that guy. Everybody that I watched on TV anywhere at any time or heard on the radio, Casey Kasem, I would try to mimic them, or at least their patter and style, especially in Casey's case. I knew I wasn't going to sound like Casey. I'm Casey Kasem. I knew I wasn't going to do that for a living, but to get his style down and his, radio patter and get that ingrained in my brain. Oh, that's how you broadcast. So I was a big mimicker.
The Love Boat. Ernie Anderson.
Yeah,
ABC.
I grew up in Cleveland when Ernie Anderson was a friend of my father's. This
Channel
is way
5,
back
right?
When.
Was it Channel 5?
Ernie Anderson was doing the Ghilardi bit on late night Cleveland TV. He dressed up. Do you know what I'm talking about, Ghilardi?
Yes. Tim Conway was.
He looked like a crazy scientist in a lab. And Ghilardi, and he'd present these spooky movies. And so Ernie Anderson went on to be one of the biggest voiceover guys in the world. And The Love Boat. I mean, I shouldn't have attempted, but nobody can do it.
Yeah.
Nobody can do it. Andy Geller. There's a guy named Andy Geller. He can do it.
Oh, he can, huh?
Yeah.
There's a very funny clip. I think it was Letterman when Letterman had Ernie Anderson on. I think it's on YouTube where he's doing all these different voices, the winds of war. I mean, that sound is right tonight on ABC. That's
ABC, right?
I used to do that too. I don't know if you still do it or if you'd admit to it, but I do drive on the highway and I will announce billboards. I will announce, exit signs. I will do that,
No, I'm not that sick. I mean, I have the sickness, but I don't announce.
Control it.
No, I will do.
The medicine's working.
I'll bet you do this. I do this. that if a disc jockey doesn't talk up a song on the radio, I do.
You'll do it for him.
WRBQ. It's $1 million weekend coming up.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Station sign-offs, station sign-ons.
Yeah.
And of
that
course,
was my practice before I ever got on, was
yes,
talking up the radio, the intros in the car.
And then, of course, this is CBS.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone just,
Yeah.
So you're doing it, you're paying the dues, you're working hard, you're working way up. There's the dream. How did the opportunity come to, and was The Price is Right the first of the game shows you had an opportunity to be a part of for the viewers watching and following the trail? Or were there some other ones that led to The Price is Right for you, Rich?
Well, I was trying to get all the experience I could, and without an agent and without having done another show, it's a catch-22. It's hard to get work in Hollywood when you don't have any legacy behind you. So my first couple of days after getting fired at a radio job in Denver, I found myself homeless in Hollywood, and I was trying to do anything and everything I could to get jobs, in broadcasting or in game shows, or get an audition for this or that. And it was late at night, and I drove down to Hollywood Boulevard to a newsstand one night, and I happened to see an ad in the back of the Hollywood Reporter, and it read something like producers need a game show announcer. And I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And there was a phone number, and I contacted that number the next day and was told, hey, bring in your resume and your announcer tape, and we'll go from there. Well, Jim, I didn't have any announcer tape. I mean, I was freshly fired from Denver, Colorado, and was trying to make it in Hollywood and didn't even have a home, for crying out loud. But I took these people my last radio air check from KUAD in Windsor, Colorado, knowing I'd never get it back. And I took it to that office, and I turned it in with this handwritten, crummy resume. And to make a long story short, I ended up getting this game show pilot. And this pilot was shooting in North Hollywood in a couple days. I got the call time, and I went there. And it turned out that this game show pilot was going to be hosted by Alan Hale Jr., Skipper from Gilligan's Island.
Gilligan's Island, right?
I know, an odd choice, but hey, I'm a newbie in Hollywood. Who knows what flies? I don't know. It didn't fly, by the way. The pilot never got picked up, but that was my first little bite of game shows, and it was many years later that I finally really did get an announcing job in a game show, and it happened to be back home here in Florida, in the state of Florida. A Mark Goodson game show right here in Florida. Who'd have thought?
It's really incredible, right? In the book, you talk about that you, as a young boy, you had a premonition that one day you'd be working with Bob Barker on The Price is Right. Do you remember what age roughly that was when you had that feeling? And what a great thing to have early on in life.
Yeah, when I say premonition, I don't mean like this thing that just popped off in my head, boom. Right. It was more like I just grew up with this understanding, Jim, that I was going to work there. I was going to be Bob Barker's announcer on The Price is Right. I would really have to talk to some kind of professionals to find out what the heck it was, because I told everybody. I told grade school classmates. I told the nuns at St. Mary's in Avon, Ohio. I told high school classmates. I told roommates in college. I told everybody at every radio station, town to town, up and down the dial, that someday I'm going to work with Bob Barker at The Price is Right. And everything I did, every course I studied, every job I accepted, I did it with one singular goal in mind. Is this going to get me one step closer to working with Bob Barker at CBS Television City at The Price is Right? Is it going to? If not, I didn't accept it, or I didn't take the course, or I didn't go do the speaking gig, or whatever it was. I literally only made steps that I thought was going to get me there. Wasn't right all the time, I'll admit it. But that's when you take a step back, you regroup, and you say, that's how I made that mistake. Doggone it, I should have trusted my intuition. It told me 9 times out of 10 the right pathway to go. And once I figured that out in life, oh man, your intuition, it's that quiet thing inside your soul that guides you, man. It tries to tell you everything all day long, every decision you make, what to do. You just got to listen.
Because so many people say, Oh, I could never do that. The Price is Right, CBS, Television City, Bob Barker, that whole thing, Hollywood.
Crazy.
No, I could never. No, no, no. I'm not even going to try. Even though the world may even be saying you'd be perfect, you'd be great, you should do this, that, or the other thing. The self-limiting beliefs that we have shoot us down and keep us stuck sometimes. And there's things that I have thought about that I was offered even early on too, and I'm like, I wonder, when I thought I didn't have enough experience to say yes to that, maybe I should have just said yes to that anyway. And just because they saw something that I knew was there, but maybe I was overthinking qualification, whatever, even though I'd done it a long time.
Right.
They saw something and they were willing to invest in you.
And your own thoughts, kind of held you back. I go through the story about Johnny Olson passing away and me thinking, oh my God, I haven't been in the business long enough yet. I don't have enough credibility behind me. I haven't done enough game shows yet. I can't possibly go out after this job. And in the long run, Rod Roddy ends up being the next announcer on The Price is Right. But, in retrospect, I was probably old enough. Maybe I didn't have enough experience behind me, but you know what? I should have gotten myself in line somehow and tried to get an audition way back then. Thank God it worked out in the end. But, again, it was self-limiting on my part. Who knows what would have happened?
Who knows what would have happened? Was hosting in the, realm for you and the thought process for you? Did you, in addition to being the announcer, did you ever want to host a show like Price is Right or other shows like that?
Yes. Oh, yes. One of the things about wanting to work with Bob Barker at the Price is Right, I mean, I had set my goals on being the announcer, was because I wanted to work with Bob and I wanted to learn from Bob. I wanted to learn all the nuances of show hosting. I mean, I used to watch this guy on Truth or Consequences, and we're coming up on 50 years. I wanted to learn as much as I could from this guy. Maybe someday to try out for the job at The Price is Right when he retires. But in Hollywood, my agent was getting me all kinds of stuff. I was hosting all kinds of little things that maybe weren't network size, but the biggest show that I did get, actually, that got pulled out from underneath me, was oh boy, and it's still on today. I mean, I could still be on this show, but it was a Merrill Heater production, and I auditioned for him and all the producers of GSN. It was going to be this new game show on GSN, and jumped through a couple of hoops, a couple of callbacks, re-auditioned for some other people, directors, writers, and studio people, and got called by my agent one Friday afternoon and said, "Richie, congratulations, you got your own show. You're a game show host." I couldn't believe it. Getting The Price is Right was probably the best thing that ever happened to me career wise. And when my agent called me that day and gave me that news that I had gotten that host job, boy, it was really something special. And that was on a Friday afternoon. By Monday morning, the show was taken away from me. I got a phone call from my agent and Merrill Heater on the line together. And here I think it's going to be this congratulatory phone call. And Merrill starts apologizing right away. And he said, "Look, the network is completely flip-flopped. They've changed their minds and they're forcing me to take this other show host." Well, that show was Catch 21. And that show host was, oh boy. This is bad, especially live.
Do you want to phone a friend?
Yes. Jim Masters, please.
Higher or lower?
He was on The Fresh Prince. Why can't I think of his name?
Oh, not,
the dance, the Goofy Dance.
Alfonso Ribeiro. He's doing Dancing with the Stars now.
Yes, Alfonso Ribeiro. Thank you so much.
He did Silver Spoons. He's doing Dancing with the Stars. And yet, that show, you were in the line. That was.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
So, yeah, I did. I wanted to host. I did. But, announcing was coming very easy.
Yeah.
The shows were coming my way and the opportunities were coming my way. And, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I mean, money's really good, especially that network money, man. Woo.
What was that like when you're standing there on set, Television City, this iconic series, this iconic show, the lights, the camera, the action, the excited, overly excited, tremendously excited audience. These people come from all around, the country, the globe, to get there, to have an opportunity to be a part of that. You're in Television City, the action, Bob Barker's there, the models, there's all of it. Mark Goodson Productions, Bill Todman. When you first put those cans on, which folks are headphones, and then you got to say those first few words, what was that experience like for you? Were you nervous? Were you excited? Were you numb? What was it like?
Not numb. No way, shape, or form. Absolutely ecstatic. I mean, out of my mind with excitement. Couldn't wait to do it. Probably overdid it because I was so excited about doing it. I couldn't believe it. As it was coming out of my mouth, I was literally in my head saying, "Oh my God, you are working at The Price is Right." And it was like, it was out of body. I mean, I had a couple of out of body experiences working there, and one of them almost got me in trouble. I mean, it was live on the air.
Really?
Yeah.
You mispronounced the compactor brand name. It's Amana, not Tappan.
No. Bob, when he was doing a show, we did shows in real time with Mr. Barker.
Yes.
So if a segment took 12 minutes, he would be out in 11 minutes and 59 seconds. He was the master at timing in his head.
Incredible.
That old radio training, it stuck with him. I mean,
yes,
it's crazy. 60 seconds in your head.
That's it. Yes.
I mean, 3 minutes in your head. And Bob did too. And so we get done with the segment, and immediately Bob, as soon as and we'll be back right after this. As soon as he says that, he turns to the audience and he starts messing around with them. He starts interacting with them. And
yes. And
I was this is one of my first days. It was actually my second audition day ever. So my second show ever with Bob. And it was the first audience break, and he's talking and he's telling jokes like he always does and everything. And I'm just enthralled by the guy. I'm mesmerized. I'm standing there at the podium. I'm just like, I'm watching like any viewer would be watching if they had the chance to stand in that studio with him. I was just like, oh my God, look at this guy. He's so smooth. Look how gregarious he is with the people in the pit. Look, oh my God, this is, and Bob just immediately out of the end about it, he's talking and Rich Fields, what's the next name on your list? And I'm like, look at him. He's slipped. He's into the show. Look how, oh my Jesus, he just called my name. I couldn't believe it. I looked at my podium real quick. I scrambled for the cards and I was like, Joe Blow, come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. But it was out of body. I forgot I was there. I forgot I was working with the master, you know what I mean, on a network game show. It's just, there's a few instances. I mean, it was out of body for me. It was so exciting for me.
Yeah. You were levitating on that stage there, huh? Whoosh. That's extraordinary. And Bob, having an opportunity to work with Bob and Drew. Mm-hmm. Tell us about working with somebody like a Bob Barker. What you just said, I love, because I plug into that as somebody who's a broadcaster, but also a faithful viewer. The smoothness of him, the finesse, the polish, the warmth. I mean, he was able to be witty, funny, polished, warm, affable, professional. All those things that you're trained to be flowed out of him so effortlessly. And when things went wrong and somebody tripped or a set bulb blew out or the number was stuck and he pulled it off, it was so fantastic. And you are there witnessing this and just probably in awe of watching this master of television, of game shows, of broadcasting do his thing. What was that like for you?
It was a teaching experience in more ways than just television and show hosting. Because Mr. Barker was exactly as he is on the air, he is off the air.
Yeah. He's
eloquent. He's smooth and soft spoken. He's generous and giving. And I know there's people out there that have a past with Mr. Barker and will refute me. And I understand that. And that's your experience with him. This is mine. This is my experience with him. And you know, I did my podcast. I had Roger Dobkowitz on a couple of times, 30-some year producer of The Price is Right, Bob Barker's best friend. And I've talked with Roger a lot. That's Bob Barker, man. That guy you see, that affable, amiable, I can't even grab all the great words. Yeah. That's Bob on and off the air. I don't get me wrong. I've seen him angry. I've seen him angry at me, and it's like my dad. It's all of a sudden flashbacks to a kid. I thought it's like my dad was angry at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. I mean, but it taught me a lot. His smoothness and his confidence and his genuineness and his givingness to that live studio audience, even off the air. He was building ratings off the air. I mean, that's a master.
Absolutely right. And he was all about the show, wasn't he? He lived and breathed that show. He absolutely was all about that show, right?
Indeed. It was Bob's show.
Yeah.
You know this. When you're a show host and you get a show in Hollywood, it's your show. You may not be the executive producer, but if there's something you don't like, all you got to do is say so. If there's something you want on the show, all you got to do is say so. It was Bob's show in every way, shape, or form. And then he becomes executive producer and starts calling all the shots, budgetary, everything. So Bob knew that show in and out, and he protected it fiercely. You're right.
In addition to, of course, all of that with The Price is Right, which is extraordinary, you're also an award-winning radio advertising producer and social media content producer as well.
Four-time radio producer winner, and most recently with social content producer award-winning. My production company, Fields Production Inc., won a social media content, actually two. One for a 10-second spot online and one for a 30-second commercial online. So, yeah, I mean, anything, you got to morph, you got to change with the times, and traditional broadcasting is starting to go by the wayside in many ways, shapes, and forms. And now everything is digital, and it's on places like this, like YouTube, and now X is doing live shows, and there's a lot of places now where you can stream content, and people they're looking for content, so they're looking for people that can provide award-winning content. So it's a lot of fun. I like doing it. But you open the show. By the way, two things about the show open. Can I digress a little bit? Sure. Yes. The artwork at the very beginning. Who's doing that artwork? Is that you?
That's a personal friend of mine. Yeah, he did it for me, and
fantastic.
It really great, isn't it? And really? Then when we created the logo, so that was a separate thing he did for me on oh yeah,
because it was in your opening logo, and I said, my God, I know you knew you were drawing the genie bottle, but do you know what this is?
Yes, that's a bottle of Jim Beam.
Jim Beam or Seagram's? Is it Jim Beam?
I think it was. They fashioned it after the Jim Beam bottle. That's the I Dream a Genie bottle, folks. Correct. Do you know I have one too? The pink one.
Did you paint it? Is it painted?
They hand painted. It was given to me as a gift.
Beautiful. Yes. This is unpainted, obviously, but when I saw your opening and I saw the I Dream a Genie bottle on it, I said, I got to show Jim.
We have it here. If I had known, I would have brought it here. We have it here. That's
that's cool. Huh? Where'd you get it?
It was given to me by a friend as a gift who knew, I'm in television. I love all the classic TV shows. And all of a sudden she gave me this gift, and it was a big box. It was delivered. I opened it up. Fragile. And it was the hand-painted I Dream a Genie.
Wow, that's cool.
I can't believe it.
That's a good friend.
That's a really good friend. And I look inside. I'm still looking for the beaded couch, and all the things in there. And it's not in there. It's empty. It's empty.
Oh, if you've never seen the show, you don't know what we're talking about.
What we're talking about with
that's awesome, brother.
They just tore down that Warner Brothers Columbia Ranch and the Bewitched. I know this is sad news for folks who aren't aware of that. There was that, that some of your favorite TV shows and movies were on this one area that had all the different facades and the houses and the park and the swimming pool and the churches and everything. I Dream a Genie, Father Knows Best, Bewitched, Gidget, Hazel, all those facades and those houses.
Famous houses.
Are gone. The whole thing is.
That's a shame.
And the Bewitched house, of course, was also for Dr. Bellows and Amanda Bellows. It was right down from the I Dream a Genie house, Major Nelson's house as well. But cool stuff, huh? When you look back at all of this.
I've got so much memorabilia. It's crazy.
Show us what else you've got there. I said, hey.
I've got right here. This is Rod Roddy's baby shoes. Trying to get the glare off them. Can you see that, Jim?
I'm stunned when I'm seeing Rod Roddy's baby shoes.
Yeah. Do you see the toes cut out?
Yes, I see that.
These were given to me by not the executor, but the person that receives the will. So it'd be the, oh, I forget. No, another word I can't pull up right now. Not the executor of Rod's will.
Attorney, or
the one that received, most of his stuff. What's that person called?
Beneficiary?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
It's late here on the East Coast, Jim.
That's right. You're not going to get that 1973 Chevy Vega now, my friend.
So Lawrence Siegel was the beneficiary of most all of Rod's property. And when I first got the job, Lawrence called me up one day and he knew how much I loved Rod Roddy. And he said, hey, would you like to come over to the house? There's a couple of things I want to show you. And so I did. I said, can I bring my wife? He was like, yeah, come on down. Come on down. And so we go over Rod Roddy's little house in the San Fernando Valley, unassuming house on the corner street lot. I mean, thousands of people pass it every day, would never have known Rod Roddy lived there.
Can I take my wife, please?
And so we go into Rod's house, and number one, and I don't say this to besmirch Rod's illustrious career or anything like that. It's just a little piece of insight that I think people will love to hear. Rod lived almost like a pack rat. Mm-hmm. There was an alleyway because everything was in boxes. Rod saved everything. Yeah. And so when you came in his front door, Lawrence said, now just follow the maze and I'm going to take you to the garage. And it was literally maybe 5-6 feet high. Maybe I could see the tops of the boxes. I'm 6 foot. Packed with just crap, Jim, all through this house. And this is just the living room we're in right now. It's just packed.
He would be on an episode of Hoarders today then.
Huh? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And so we get around to the kitchen and Lawrence says, let's go out to the garage. There's something I want to show you back here. And by the way, all that stuff that was packed up, it was mostly tapes of shows of his. Rod saved a VHS copy of every single show he did. From Soap to Press Your Luck to The Price is Right. Rod saved a copy of everything, along with a copy of the script and a show sheet from every single episode Rod ever did.
The difference between Rod and me is I pay monthly for a climate-controlled storage bin that has all those things in it. The 3/4-inch tapes, all of them are in there.
Really? You keep tapes? I had 2 or 3 bins in Los Angeles full of memorabilia and game set pieces and podiums.
But remember how hard and covered it was to actually be allowed to be given copies of your work? It was coveted to ever get a copy of your work on tape.
Certainly in his contract, I guarantee it, because he had one from every single episode. And like The Price is Right, I could see they were dubbed at CBS, so he must have been in his contract. So anyway, we get through Rod's house into the kitchen, and Lawrence goes to take us out in the garage. And I said, what, Rod leave a car out here? No, wait till you see. And he does the security code on this thing, and shit opens up, and I swear to God, it almost like I know there wasn't in my head. I put a like a as this door opened, this hermetically sealed.
Got a hard hat on.
And it lit up, boom, 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 all the way around the garage. Bright white fluorescent lights. Not a car in sight in this garage, and it was 3 racks of clothes. And on the top rack, he had all his jackets all the way around the garage. Literally hundreds of sparkly jackets. The next row was all silk shirts, every color of the rainbow and multicolored ones and just crazy stuff. Then he had pants that matched. It was just nuts. And I just stood there. I couldn't believe it. It was overwhelming to me. And I immediately thought, oh my God, look at this. This man's entire legacy, what he's known for, is right here, and he's passed away. He's off the planet, and it sits here years later. You know what I mean? It's like, it was a really weird moment. And Lawrence says to me, is there anything you want? And I said, oh my God, Lawrence, I want them all, but I've got nowhere to put them. He said, well, we'll take 10, 15, 20 of them, I said, what? I don't know what to do with them. I should have taken everything he offered to me. I ended up taking 2 jackets. I gave one to a charity to auction off for kids, and one of the other things that was boxed up, we were going through boxes all that night because I couldn't believe it. He was telling me, was Rod Roddy's baby shoes. Sorry about the light. There they are. Anyway, so I said to Lawrence, I said, why are the toes cut out, Lawrence? He said, oh, Rod told me that he was such a big baby. I mean, large baby. He was such a large baby and growing so quickly that his mom and dad cut the toes out because they couldn't afford to buy him new shoes in their little town in Texas. So these are, in fact, Rod Roddy's baby shoes right there.
That's so incredible. You got a lot of little cool things in your area there, huh?
Check this out. This is the script, my script from my podium of Bob Barker's last episode on The Price is Right, autographed by Bob Barker. Who has that?
How cool is that, huh?
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody has that.
Wow. That's something. That's amazing. When you heard Bob Barker passed away, God bless him, just before the 100th, I know you've been quoted, and you actually said some beautiful things when the media and everybody were, the entertainment shows and everybody were coming at you for quotes and things of that nature. You said some beautiful things. You posted this fabulous photo of you guys together. What was that like for you, that experience of getting that phone call or just learning about the passing of Bob?
It's ironic because the news anchor that walked up to me at the CBS station he and I were working at the time when Rod Roddy passed away, I was working out in the Palm Springs area. I was a weatherman out there. The news anchor that walked up to me that night with a piece of rip and read copy that said Hollywood, Dateline Hollywood, the announcer of The Price is Right, Rod Roddy, has just passed away. That news anchor was the same guy that called me and told me that Mr. Barker had passed away. Nothing had been on the news, nothing had hit yet. And I said, Eric, come on, that's not funny. He said, no, I'm here in the newsroom. It just came across and I wanted to call you. And I was like, oh my God. Well, I mean, he was 99. It's not like it was unexpected, but it's unexpected. You know what I mean? Bob always said to me, he said it 100 times if he said it once, I want to beat George Burns as far as age. I want to beat George Burns. And George made it to 100. And so that was Bob's goal. And Christine, my wife, and I, we owe Bob everything. I mean, this house in Clearwater Beach, everything we have is because Bob Barker made me his announcer on The Price is Right. So we have always held Bob in high regard and have always prayed for him. And we prayed that he would make 100. We wanted that for him. But, it is what it is.
And then, of course, Johnny Olson, who sort of set the tone in the beginning, an extraordinary person and talent as well, huh?
Oh, my God, the king, the king, the guy I looked at and said, that's what I want to do. That's the guy I want to be. That's the job I want to have. 1979, my dad and I broke into CBS. It's in the book. I keep saying that. I think I put everything in the book.
It's in there.
I didn't, though. There's a whole nother one to go because I stopped it when Drew Carey got the job, and there's another whole book to go. But my dad and I broke into CBS in 1979 and got caught. And because of that, they had to sequester us so that we weren't cheating for somebody that was in an upcoming show coming on. And we got caught backstage out in the hallway of CBS. And so because of that being sequestered, we got to see a show. They wanted to keep an eye on us off stage. And it was during that moment or that episode that Johnny Olson, the show's about to start, the lights go down, and that 70s song, Disco Inferno, dun 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 dun, dun, come beating down, and then lights flickering, and oh my God, and then Johnny comes, running out, ladies and gentlemen, the announcer of The Price is Right, Johnny Olson, here he comes, he was dancing, the crowd loved it, oh my God. And he dispensed, the information he needed to give us and what to do if we got on stage. My dad and I weren't allowed to get on stage. We were told that. but Johnny Olson got done with his little warm up, and he was like, okay, we're about done here. Are there any questions out there in the audience? And my dad knew my passion in life, and he begrudgingly, I think, took me and broke into CBS for me that particular day because I was supposed to head to a military academy in just a matter of weeks.
Mm.
And my dad nudged me and he motioned to me like, ask Johnny a question for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? And so I did. I jumped up from the back row. I said, yeah, Johnny, I got a question. How do I get your job? And the audience laughed like it was a sitcom. And Johnny said, oh, you think you can do my job, kid? Come on down. Johnny Olson called me on down. And he said, come on up here. You know, show us what you got. Take this microphone. Use my name. Call me on down to Contestants Row.
Oh,
so I took the microphone. And here I am standing in front of, the guy I hope to replace someday and want to learn everything from. But as best I could, I said, Johnny Olson, come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. Well, the crowd went nuts. Oh, my God, Jim. It was, again, like canned laughter from a sitcom. And they're clapping. And Johnny, he's consummate pro. He feigns like he's mad, and he grabs that microphone from me. He goes, give me back that microphone, kid. Mr. Barker, here's you and back. Now go sit down.
Go sit down.
But, I mean, I would have missed again. I'm fighting with my own intuition about making a decision about raising my hand at that moment. If it wasn't for my dad nudging me and saying go, I probably would have missed one of the greatest moments in my life with one of my predecessors, one of the guys that I really looked up to. So, just so many teaching moments throughout life, and every one of them point me right back to trusting your intuition, man. It's trying to tell you what to do all the time.
What was it like when the family, dad and everybody, the family back home in Ohio started, when they saw your rising star and the success coming your way? That must have been really terrific.
Very happy, thrilled, all of them, especially my dad. I mean, he wanted all us boys, me, my brother Dave, my brother Mike. We were all supposed to go to military academies because Dad couldn't afford to send us to college. So we learned early on, it was the corporate line that we all, step two that, we had to get good grades. We had to get good SAT scores, and we had to get an appointment by a senator or a congressman to get into one of the military academies. That was our only choice. So we all did. My brother Dave started out at the Air Force Academy, ends up transferring to the Navy, ends up retiring as a Navy captain. My brother Mike goes to the Merchant Marine Academy. I had 2 appointments to go to Annapolis. When we broke into CBS out in California in 1979, I was weeks away from going to the United States Naval Academy, and I did not want to go. I didn't want to go my entire life. I didn't want to go. And fought Dad with about it tooth and nail. So finally making it, was a big deal for me to show Dad and everybody else. But I think, my dad too, like, wow, he really came around. It was like, I mean, my dad's money. So once I told Dad what the money was.
He's good. You've got him. Was he a personality too? Would you say he was a personality? Your dad?
I'm sorry, say again?
Was your dad a personality himself?
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
God, yes. Oh, yeah. I mentioned this, that my dad always skated a fine line between criminal and cop. He was in his early days, he was a policeman and he was an investigator for the state of Ohio. So he kind of had this, he was a candidate for CIC school. He was one of the first candidates for CIC school back during the Korean conflict. That's before the CIA. It was called the Counterintelligence Corps. Mm-hmm. And so that was Dad. So you can imagine growing up with a guy like that.
Absolutely. I remember, growing up as a kid in New York, out east on Long Island, the neighbor that had, he was I think he was a Brooklyn, New York sergeant or detective. That family always had the best fireworks display on 4th of July. They had the Roman candles. Jeez. They had all the good stuff.
I wonder where that came from.
They had the best displays.
Nice.
Funny stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Now you get serious at times with the book too. You talk about actually, I mean, it's.
You're not going to make me cry now, are you, Jim? Wow. You're not going to do a Barbara Walters on me now, are you?
Barbara,
Wawa.
Then I'd have to add a little bit of a filter, right, on the lens. Or, you dealt with some bouts of cancer along the way as well, and you've been open about that, and you mentioned being homeless actually for a period. Those things that you've dealt with and were able to get through sort of added to this resilience and tenacity and can do, I would imagine, huh, for you, Rich?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you make it over one, like the first instance for me was testicular cancer. And so, you start going through the process because you have to. And once you get over a hurdle, and it may take a few years, but once you get over that hurdle, you think, oh my God, thank you, Lord. At least I did. I'm done with it. I can move on with my life. And I did. I accepted a job out in Colorado and moved and just packed up and went and got I was going to do an afternoon drive out there and 3 to 7 p.m. And I thought, oh, here I go. I'm better than halfway across the United States. One more hop across the Rockies, I'll be into California. My next station's going to be in LA. And so I was constantly, thinking ahead, about getting that next gig. But getting over every hurdle gives you a little more to your constitution. I finally get to Colorado. I get this new job and I get a phone call from my dad and mom. And the last CAT scan that I took months ago, come back and now I'm loaded with cancer. So now I got to go to Eleanor Roosevelt Cancer Institute and deal with all that and have huge lymphatic surgery, lower lymphatic surgery. And oh my God, it was like I got beat up. I mean, because I was, they move everything around inside of you. And 72 lymph nodes later, they got it all. And I had CAT scans after that and ended up coming clean for a long, long time. As a matter of fact, if you can go 3 years, generally you're said to have beaten, that particular type of cancer. And so I have. I've had nothing but a few bladder tumors in my last few years, and those are easily with surgery. You can easily take those out and treat them. And other than that, some stomach ulcers from my last year at The Price is Right. Other than that, I've been really healthy. I mean, as you talk to me now, I'm 62. I'll be 63 in November in a month or two. And I feel pretty good.
That's incredible. That's so great to hear that. Really,
but you're right.
You look great. I mean,
thanks, brother. All of those little obstacles for me I got more angry. I was like, this is not stopping me. This can't be the end. Making deals with God, praying, outside the operating room. I mean, don't get me wrong. It wasn't all fun and games. And then driving with no job after getting fired in Denver and finding myself, living in my car in Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, the people hear those stories. Even the money guru Susie Orman said in an interview once that she even lived in a car once, and then of course look at her now. That really was, but you had the dream. You were plugging away. I mean, you wouldn't be in the car in Hollywood if you still didn't have this dream. You could have been back home in Ohio.
Exactly right.
The creature comforts of home and family and then apple pie on Sundays. You still said, I got to do this.
That's exactly right. You said it perfectly, Jim. I chose to be homeless in Hollywood. I chose to go out there with no job and no money. I wanted to be there. I knew I'd get myself out of it. I didn't know how long it was going to take me to get out of, not having a shelter, but I knew I'd get myself out of it. And I knew I needed to be there to make this dream happen. So I was willing to do anything to make that happen. Yeah.
Right. And that's such a beautiful thing to do that, and to have that tenacity. And that's, a big part of the message with your book. What was the writing process like for you with the book, Rich? I mean, to actually put pen to paper and share and tell these stories in the way that you do so eloquently. What was the initial inspiration to do it? Well,
I mean, I've thought about writing. I kept a diary, Jim, from day one at The Price is Right. Actually, I started a diary during my audition period, and I would write every day when I'd come home from The Price is Right. I'd write down stuff. I kind of knew the whole time that someday I was going to write a book, and the more that things were coming true and things were happening for me, the more even my wife became a bigger believer, I'm sure. She was like, wow, this is, you've really done this. You're really, you're on stage with Bob Barker at The Price is Right. You've done exactly what you always said you were going to do. So I kind of always knew I'd write a book about it too. But actually sitting down and doing it, I mean, I started writing this February of this year. So it took me a good 8 months, not because it took me that long to write it, but because, I don't know, perfectionist in me, I'm not sure. And not that the book's perfect. There's a lot of mistakes in it. But I just mean, I looked at other people's books. I listened to other people's audio books. I asked ghostwriters, 2 different ones, about writing this autobiography, self-writing this thing. And I guess that's what an autobiography is, right? But, they were like, oh, you work in television. Think of storyboards and put your chapters on a big wall and then put your sub chapters, underneath them and go from there. And Jim, I didn't know what I was going to write. I swear to God, I didn't. And then somebody said to me, well, you know what? Get it out of your head. Start typing. Chapter 1. Start typing. And so it first started out as just a stream of consciousness to try to get stories out of my head.
Right. Because you're used to announcing the words, not writing them.
True that. I am no writer. I'll tell you that right now. But then in reading back paragraphs or having editors look at things, I would rewrite. And then I'd go on to another chapter and another chapter and another chapter and another chapter. And then I'd go back and I'd look at them again. I wouldn't like what I wrote. So I'd rewrite. You know what I mean? And so I was my own worst critic. Mm. Not that it's all fluid and makes sense now. I'm just saying.
No, but I'm right there with you. I get that. I'm similar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, it comes from, these industries sort of enhance that because they demand excellence and perfection, and then it's demanded on time and quickly, and you got to go out there and make magic, and you got to do it again and do it again, and we're attracted, I think, to these industries because it allows us to sort of, exercise that sort of striving for excellence. You know what I tell people too when they mention perfectionist? I say, how about this? And you may have said this yourself as well. Instead of saying perfectionism and trying to strive for perfectionism, which is something really, as we know, doesn't necessarily exist,
right?
Change it to striving for excellence. And they're like, oh my God, that's so liberating. Wow. It's similar. You're striving for the best. You're giving it your all.
Great point.
Striving for excellence. But taking the word perfection and perfectionism out of the equation and replacing it with excellence still allows you to strive for the best, do your best, give it your all. But at the same time, it allows you to breathe.
One of the points I try to make when I speak with younger audiences is about doing your best. I try to impress upon them. I tell them these stories about all I ever tried to do every day was my best. I didn't try to be Johnny Olson. I didn't try to be Rod Roddy. I didn't try to be anybody else. I just wanted to do my best. And what I try to impress upon these kids is that's all anyone can ask of you in life. That's all God can ask from you. That's all anybody, in this realm can ask you is do your best. If you do your best every day and you still get fired for it or let go or in trouble for it, you know what? You did your best. In your mind, you did your best, right? You did everything you could today to make sure that you fulfilled that job or whatever you needed to do, and you made it the best you possibly could. So if you do your best every day, you will never go wrong. I'll tell you that right now.
That is very, very true. Absolutely right, my friend. Look at this shot. Wow.
Little buddy.
That is so cool, huh?
Skipper. Yeah, I think it's chapter 8. It's called, I believe it's called Little Buddy.
That is so cool.
The skipper just called me Little Buddy. I couldn't believe it. That was my very first game show pilot ever. Bob Barker in the back of his dressing room. That tie, by the way, was a gift to him by my wife and I. Believe it was his birthday. And he just happened to be backstage putting the tie on when my wife was visiting one day with our new pug. And of course, you got to get a picture. If you got a dog, you got to get a picture of Bob Barker. And
absolutely. Yes. When there's a dog involved or a cat or any bird, we are all second-class citizens. We stand back. Here's a great shot.
Ryan Seacrest, on air with Ryan Seacrest. This was during Bob Barker. We were trying to audition people to take Mr. Barker's job, and we had, a lot of named people came in, but a lot of
George Hamilton.
Yeah, George Hamilton, right?
Yeah.
Mario Lopez.
I'm surprised that, well, I know that I had heard that initially they wanted George Hamilton. They thought it'd be a smooth transition, but he had trouble maybe memorizing the games, or just that, something to do with the memorization of the games and all the action, or.
I didn't hear that. Could be. I didn't hear that, but he was very good.
Terrific.
I think George got the most, I won't say on-air auditions, but live auditions with an audience and games and prizes than anybody. He got 3 or 4 shows worth. I'd say 3 shows worth. Some people got 2, some people only got 1. But
Mario Lopez wanted it.
Yeah,
I think
Mario wanted it bad.
Yeah,
I remember I became the voice of Extra. And so my very first day over there at the lot, I came in and Mario was there, and I said, "Hey, Mario," I said, I said, "What happened?" He goes, "Oh, I wanted that so bad." I knew Mario wanted that Price is Right job. I mean, perfect age, perfect demographics that he would bring in. I mean, but Ryan came by CBS and met with executives. Didn't ultimately do an audition, but I'm sure that was Ryan's wishes, because he'd have been great. Ryan actually came down after those meetings upstairs on the 3rd floor. We were taping a show, and he sat in the audience and watched Mr. Barker do a show, and he kept staring at me. You know, Ryan's a radio guy, obviously, and you know, I think I'm pretty good, and I think, oh wow, Ryan's digging what I'm doing over here, you know. And the next day, we get a call from Ryan's people, and he wants me to be on his radio show, Ryan Seacrest.
Yes.
On air with Ryan Seacrest. And I was supposed to be on, Jim, maybe for a couple of minutes, kind of like this show. What I had a 5-minute slot. We've been on for over an hour.
Exactly. Yeah. And we just still said our names
for a couple of minutes. And I was on the entire morning, hundreds of stations across the country. We had a freaking ball, man. We were playing game shows. Of course, I was the announcer, and of course, he was the host. And he broke out his Bob Barker microphone. It was a lot of fun. I love Ryan. Ryan's a really cool, down-to-earth guy.
You know, he's got I do too. He's got a old school quality to him, yet with a modern vibe. Trained, of course, mentors like Merv Griffin and Dick Clark. That helps too. But he's got this, and now, of course, for those who don't know, he's going to be taking the helm at Wheel of Fortune with Vanna White when Pat Sajak retires.
Yeah,
kind of cool there too, huh?
Yeah,
what an opportunity. Cool. Yeah.
He'll be there a long time, I guarantee it.
Who would ever? Yeah, I think I would stick with that. Yeah, and she just resigned, so she'll be with it for a few more years too, which is great.
Was it more than a year?
Yes, I believe it was.
Because I know they're pushing Pat's daughter really hard.
Are they?
Yeah, Vanna even posted, "I think my new successor should be," and she had it right with her.
Should be the daughter, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, here's a great shot too.
That is when I first got to The Price is Right, these were the young ladies that were models when I first got there. Like my first round of shows, you know, first year or two, these were the young ladies. Rachel, Shane, Brandy, Rebecca, Terry, Lanisha. I mean, some of the sweetest girls in the world. Miss them all very much so. Of course, Rachel's still there.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. You know, we're talking a lot about, of course, the game shows, Price is Right, and the extraordinary opportunities doing that show, and your contributions to it, which are now in the annals of game show history, television history, broadcast history, but also weather, meteorology. Tell us about that too.
Well, so I'm a young kid. I want to be a broadcaster. I finally get excused from my dad to not having to go to the military academies. I tell him I want to go to the University of Florida, one of the best broadcasting schools in the country. Yeah. And he says, well, as long as you can pay for it, go ahead. My mom worked out with the state of Florida, applied for me and got me a student loan through the state of Florida. And I went to the University of Florida. And my first decision was, gosh, I want to get to The Price is Right. I want to work with Bob Barker. How do I do that? And the University of Florida had radio and they had television.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, you know, all the hosts of that time were all graduates of radio, even the announcers, Roddy, everybody. I mean, Bob was in radio. Wink Martindale was in radio. Dick Clark. I mean, everybody, you name a show host, they came out of radio. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go do radio. I'm going to develop a personality. because standing in front of a TV camera as some kind of stodgy reporter, I didn't think that was going to get me to Hollywood. So I said, no, I'm going to town to town, up and down the dial with personality. And so my first decision was that it was going to be radio was going to be the path. Well, after a really good stab at it and a decade or more, plugging away, getting Los Angeles radio stations, getting employed, trying to get a game show auditions and stuff like that, thinking now I got a little cachet. It didn't give me as much cachet as I would have hoped it would have. But I thought, you know what? I heard stories about Pat Sajak getting plucked off of KMBC out there to do Wheel of Fortune. I heard about David Letterman getting plucked off of TV doing weather. I heard about a lot of people made the transition from TV news into television entertainment.
Right.
So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to retool. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to study meteorology. I'm going to become an on-air meteorologist. I'm going to come back out here to Southern California. I'm going to get me a meteorology job at a big network-owned station here in Los Angeles. I'm going to get seen, and I'm going to get me a game show. Same thought pattern with radio, but now I'm just going to retool and do TV broadcasting. And so I did. I went to Mississippi State University. I studied meteorology. I called an agent friend of mine who wasn't even representing TV talent at the time. He was a huge radio guy. Name the biggest radio names that you know. This guy's their agent. And I said to him, I said, Paul, I said, look, I said, I know you don't do TV people, but I need somebody tenacious like you to get me a Southern California TV station. I need a ground level position as a weatherman. I need to be out there while I'm studying right now, still studying in college. I need to be out there. I need to be honing that craft. I need to get better on TV. And within a week, he called me up and he said, hey, I got a TV station out in Palm Springs. It's starting from dirt and they need a whole staff. Do you want to go? And I said, yes. It was 90 minutes outside of LA. And I knew I could be, within an hour and a half of auditioning for anything that I could get my hands on. And so I took the job and it ended up serving me well, not only before The Price is Right, not so much getting noticed in TV, but after The Price is Right. It was the next thing. CBS, the news network, locked me up right away. CBS News Los Angeles, as soon as I was done with The Price is Right. So it was a real godsend, man. Being a meteorologist was a real godsend. And I enjoyed it. I loved it. I loved it as a little kid. My dad built me a home weather station when I was really small. So that shot there is from Hurricane Ian, I think. Yeah. A few years ago here in Tampa, but I did many years out in Los Angeles for KCBS and KCAL 9. And then came back home here to Florida and worked at the CBS affiliate here in Florida. I just retired February, and that's when I decided to start writing the book. I had time.
What was that moment like to say, I'm going to, hang it up and retire? Not easy. Easier said than done. It's tough stuff,
It's hard.
It is easier said than done.
And as we've already spoken about, the broadcast landscape has changed so much, Jim, that it wasn't as enjoyable to me anymore. I mean,
I've heard that from several who have retired recently who've said that they were in it, and now it's not quite the same. It's 6-second TikTok videos.
Yeah. And, many news reporters I know all over the country, not just the ones I worked with here in Tampa recently, but many people in news are just so done with it. But here they've gone to school. That's what they studied. That's their, career now. And a lot of them feel trapped about that. And I try to tell them, like I tell everybody, is, it doesn't matter where you are in life. It doesn't matter if you're married and you have children and you have bills to pay. It doesn't matter if you still have that dream, that one thing, that one goal in life that you think you should be doing. Pardon me. You should be working at it every day to get there. Do one thing every day that's going to get you that ultimate dream, and it'll happen for you. It'll come true.
Like I said, you said to me prior, which I thought was a really cool thing. You're in a sweet spot where you realize the work you're doing now with motivational speaking and inspiring and mentoring, empowering people it's your calling, isn't it? It's all led to this. You've been doing that in various ways, shapes, and forms anyway. Right. But now you're really doing it on levels that are incredibly deep. I mean, being on The Price is Right, being a weather person, all the other things you've done entertains people, takes them away from, some of the things that go on in their lives. In meteorology, providing very important, timely information so they can plan out their day, plan out their lives. The game show world, makes us feel good, and we're rooting for the contestants. And so you have been sort of motivating, inspiring along the way in one of the toughest industries on the planet, as we all know. At the same time, now you can do Rich as Rich and offer the rich experience that you have accumulated over the years to others in all different aspects and genres of life to help lift them when they're struggling with, what do I do? How do I do it? I don't know. I'm stuck. I don't believe in myself. It's really extraordinary. It's full circle for you, isn't it, Rick?
It's very much so. I never realized, all right, I didn't think I would ever say in my life, I'm going to end up being a public speaker and, talking to crowds, few hundred at a time, 1,000 at a time. I never thought that was a calling, but I started thinking about it. My last couple of years of broadcasting, I was approached by a few different people who organize this kind of thing. And I'd been seriously thinking about it for a long time. And I've gone out and I've talked, like you said, I mean, all along. I mean, anytime anybody anywhere needed anybody to come host something or talk or speak with their group, I would always do it. So I've been out speaking like for 40 years. But now that it's this, I won't even say it a career, but now that this is what I do, everything I've done in my life has led to this. And I find myself constantly pulling from things that have happened to me in my life and dispensing them in a matter, in a way, shape, and form that people can understand and kind of translate to their own lives. So, you talked about despair or feeling a certain way. And God, it's amazing how many people out there are at their wits' end right now in so many ways. And, to try to erase some of that despair and to try to help them forge some hope in their lives, it's very fulfilling, very much so.
Yeah. As you're doing it, as I always say, as you inspire and lift others, you're being inspired and lifted along the way yourself, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Isn't that incredible how that works?
Absolutely. That's absolutely what happens. And it's moments like that, or I get done and walk off the stage, or I'm driving home and I think, God, I think that did more for me than it did for them. But because, it solidifies that this is what you should be doing.
Now, when you do that work, are you doing it one-on-one? Are you doing it, over streaming and Zoom and all the rest? Are you going to places and doing it in front of
all the above
speaking engagements and?
Yeah, all the above. Live events are back, so that's happening again.
Yeah.
The one-on-ones are all virtual, like you and I are doing right now. There's even group virtual sessions that I do, but the big groups that I'll fly to their venue and speak with them there. I'll be one of maybe 3, 4, 5 speakers they'll have in a weekend. So
that's terrific.
I'll do it all.
You do it all, right? Individuals, corporate. We didn't mention too, working with Drew Carey as well. I know we focused a lot on, of course, beloved Bob. How about working with Drew as well? That experience.
Well, Drew and I have a lot of the same sensibilities. We are literally just a couple of months apart. We grew up literally just miles apart outside of Cleveland. Drew grew up in Cleveland proper. I grew up in Avon, just a few miles outside of Cleveland. And we hit it off right away. God, we did everything together. I mean, everything from private jets to soccer games. Drew owns part of the Seattle Sounders, so we were up there constantly.
That's right.
Staying for the weekend or going to Vegas together. Or, my wife and I and him and his girlfriend, we all went to Argentina together. I mean, just a lot of fun. We got in a car accident together, Drew and I, on the 405 freeway in Los Angeles, and survived that. Nobody knows about.
Wow.
I mean, we were fast friends, man. We we hit it off right from the start, and it showed on the air. I think people could tell on the air how friendly we both were with each other. You can't fake that, number one. And it was a lot of camaraderie. It was really nice. It was cool.
Do you stay in touch still? Are you still communicative with Drew and other folks with The Price is Right?
A lot of other folks from The Price is Right, yes. Drew, not so much anymore. Drew, I think the last time I had any connection with him was a year or so ago. I had contacted him to make an appearance on my podcast to wish happy birthday, by the way, to Kathy Greco, the associate producer of The Price is Right for 30-some years.
Unbelievable.
So that was the last time we actually had any kind of communication. Now we're running in different circles now. So
yeah. Hey, you got this shot too that you shared with us.
Oh, wow.
Is very cool, huh? Look at this.
Man, that's when I was the announcer at Universal Studios Tour in Hollywood. And I was the assistant manager of entertainment, was working my way on up to it. And so anytime somebody was out, didn't come in for work, I'd have to hurry up and run to that show and fill in whoever it was. I'm on the A-Team Live Action set up there with B.A. Baracus on the top. And then I was the regular announcer for the Animal Actors show. And then the bottom picture is me, Lieutenant Starbuck on Battlestar Galactica down in the Galactica set. But that job at Universal Studios, that was my first real Hollywood kind of job. That job was a lifesaver to me. John Corfino, the assistant manager of entertainment at the time, he, if you want to say discovered me, I wouldn't say that's the wrong word. I mean, I was working in a restaurant, a deadbeat restaurant in North Hollywood, California, and was still living out of my car. And this guy heard me screwing around on the PA mic one night, and I was calling people to come on down to get their seats. Jones, party at 2. Come on down. And people loved it, man. Oh, this went on for weeks. Anyway, this guy comes up to me at the register one night to pay his bill. And I'm asking him how everything was. I was the night manager. And he says, everything's great. He says, let me ask you one thing. I said, what's that? He goes, what do you do? Because I know this isn't it. He motions to the dining room.
There's something else he does, yes.
And I said, well, I'm a freshly fired radio disc jockey, and with some false bravado, I said, I'm on my way to be the announcer, Bob Barker's announcer on The Price is Right. And this guy laughed. He laughed out loud. Yeah. Oh, my God, he laughed. I mean, the crazy kid. How the hell he's going to get to Bob Barker? But he said, look, he took out his wallet, and he handed me a business card. And there were 3 letters embossed on it in gold, and it said MCA. And I knew from being in radio, MCA was MCA Records and Tapes. You remember that?
That's right. Yes, right.
And at the bottom, in very fine black print, really cool, it said John Corfino, Assistant Manager of Entertainment, Universal Studios Hollywood. And in my head, it was like, cha-ching. I thought I hit the freaking jackpot. I thought, oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, give me a call on Monday. I think I might have something for you. I mean, just like that. And it changed my life. John Corfino approaching me and being open to me and generous to me that night, inviting me up to Universal to interview with him. It changed my life. It gave me a steady paycheck. It gave me a steady income. I was able to get an apartment. I was able to no longer be homeless in Hollywood. But it was my first real taste of, kind of working in Hollywood while I was still trying to get game shows and get on the radio. I was nuts. I had too much to accomplish, Jim.
What would be something for those who have not had an opportunity to work in Hollywood, that coming from the Midwest and then planting yourself in Tinseltown surprised you, good, bad, or indifferent? Something that you took away from the Hollywood experience? I'm sure you took a lot of great things away, but something that maybe was a little bit different than what you had always anticipated it to be.
Well, my first experience that I'll say was like not a good experience for me in Hollywood was when I was courting agents. I mean, Jim, you desperately need an agent in Hollywood to get anything done. I mean, although I still probably got every job I ever got on my own, but agents are still, they can't send you out there to get the job if you don't know the casting's coming, and only agents get those casting calls. So I had this one agent, and it was the first guy I ended up signing with. And I walked into his office first time I met him in Burbank, and the first thing he said to me was, hey, lose the necklace. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. He goes, take it from me, you don't want to be wearing that Christian cross and necklace. This is This is Hollywood. Take it from me. I'm Jewish, he says. You know, we run this town. And you're signaling right now to, and you know, here I came from Avon, Ohio. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God. It was my first experience with any kind of, I don't even know how to put it. No one ever told me that my religion was bad or looked down upon. You know what I mean?
An issue or could be an issue, right? Yeah.
It was shocking to me. And I thought, oh my God, am I dead in the water before I even get started out here? Because, you know, I'm the wrong faith or that I profess that. So that was shocking to me. I would tell anybody coming from the Midwest, you know, get ready for little stuff like that. Hold your ground. It's not the end. It's not the end of the world, and you can work around it. And I ended look. I mean, look. I ended up working around the whole thing. And by the way, that agent, just as a caveat, that was the only person in 20 plus years of working steadily in Hollywood. That was the only person that ever furrowed a brow at or scoffed at or told me to take off the necklace. So I think it might have been his personal problem.
Well, in a way, years ago, in a way, it might have been a great thing to have happened only because wasn't there years ago they would say take off other things?
Oh, absolutely.
So if it's just a necklace for now, okay. We're
It's funny you mention that because this particular
is there a couch over there?
This particular agent of mine, and I call him Morty in the book because I don't want anybody to know who he was. I don't want to besmirch him or get sued later. But this particular agent, maybe a year later, I wake up one morning and it's all over LA News that an agent in Hollywood was arrested for 11 counts of sexual assault and what's it called? Not imprisonment, but you know, when you hold somebody against their wishes and stuff like that. Yeah. And oh my God, they're showing video of this guy in handcuffs coming out of his office. And it was this guy, Morty. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe I could, because let me tell you something about that guy. When I first met him, I met him in his office. Every time I ever went back to his office, the office was always locked up. His card be out front, but nobody would ever come to the door or open the door. Now he gets arrested and all these counts against him allegedly, and he ended up going to prison for it. He was in the back room with one of these girls, God forbid. I mean.
So even though it was a very disappointing and horrific thing to be told to take the necklace off, you might have got off easy. If you know, like you say, there's always a positive to everything. So look at
and let me tell anybody coming from the Midwest, that happened to me once. I was working at that little restaurant, Candy's. I hadn't met John Corfino yet, and some guys, regulars, always came in. And one night they said to me, "Oh, you're a handsome guy. You ever think about getting into movies?" I said, "Well, you know, sure. I'm out here to do game shows at The Price is Right, but what do you got?" "Well, I'll tell you what. My office is about 2 buildings down." He says, "When I get done with dinner here, or you get off work, why don't you come meet me down at my office, and I'll lay it out for you." And I said, "Sure, great." And so I got the address from the guy, and when I got off of work, I went down there and went up the elevator to his office, and there he was. And I thought it was odd. I walked in his office, and every single bookshelf was just filled with videotapes. And the guy says, "Okay, all right, well, great, Rich." He says, "Take off your trousers. Let's see what you got." I said, "What?" "Take off your trousers. Let's see what you got." I said, "Oh, wait a minute. I think you've totally got me misunderstood. This isn't what I was talking." Turns out, in the daylight, that building was Vivid Entertainment, one of the biggest porn producers in the entire freaking country. And I was getting an audition. And I immediately just knew right away, oh, I want no part of this. I want no part of this guy anymore. I need to get out of this office. Hey, I'm sorry. Our communication got crossed someplace. I'm not interested in that. I'll see you at Candy some other night. And I took off. It will happen. It will happen to you, especially girls. You will get propositioned. Stay strong. Know where you came from. You know what I mean? Remember what mom and dad taught you. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are the things that are going to keep you sane in an insane place like that.
See, now you, in reflection, know what he meant when he said, "I'll lay it out for you." He's had a different thing in mind.
You got that right.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a clue there and a cue there. Just quickly switching back to the Price is Right. What are a couple of special memories for you being involved with this iconic series that stand out for you? Whether they're funny moments, crazy moments, endearing moments, a few things that are some of your top few favorite times of being affiliated with the show.
I'd have to start with that day that Dad and I broke into CBS, and the day that day that I got.
How do you break into television? How do you do that?
Apparently, they have not fixed it either. I've told this story a lot. I've told it on television. I've told it on the internet.
Yeah,
and apparently
now on the Jim Master Show,
it still works. So here you go. There's a gate between CBS, the back lot, and what is now the Grove, right next door. It's this massive outdoor shopping complex.
Yes,
Jim, yeah. And so there's a lot of restaurants back there, and a lot of CBS employees go over there during their lunch hour. Farmers market's over there. You can get anything you want. You can get deli stuff. You can get anything you want over at Farmers Market. And so a lot of CBS employees go over there to eat lunch and dinner. And so there's a gate that goes straight over there. You take your card, you swipe it in this little thing, and it's a big turnstile, 6-foot turnstile gate that only allows for one turn. So only one person can get in at a time. Well, my dad and I were eating lunch at Farmers Market one day in 1979, and I looked out the window and I could see a bunch of people queuing up to this gate going back into CBS from Farmers Market. And I said to Dad, eating my sandwich, I said, "Hey, it looks like those people must all be employees from CBS going back in the gate." My dad looked over and he said, "Yeah." And he picked up everything off the tables and he grabbed it, he threw it in the trash. He said, "Come on, follow me." I said, "What? Where are we going?" He said, "Just hurry up. Come on, follow me." And so we hurriedly ran up to the back of the line of the people that were going into CBS, only to get there as the very last employee had just gone through the turnstile. My dad grabbed it right away and it locked. Sure enough, it was done. It was locked and we weren't getting in. But there was a little intercom box on the gate and it said, "For help, push for help from guard," or something like that. "Push if you need help from the guard," or something like that. And so my dad hits this intercom button and this disembodied voice comes on. "Yes, can I help you?" And my dad says, "Hey, I don't have my card. Can you buzz me back in?" And thing buzzed. My dad grabs me and he pushes me through this turnstile gate. It turns, locks. Now I'm on CBS property and Dad is locked out, but not for long because Dad pushed the button again. Again, the voice, "Yes, can I help you?" And my dad goes, I didn't get in time. Can you buzz me through again?" And the buzz thing buzzed and we both walked right on the CBS lot, walked right up the back ramp, right by the commissary, right through the elephant doors of CBS, 30 feet high and 30 feet wide, right through the hallways of the Price is Right. There were all the games, all the prizes for the show that was loaded and ready to go as we're back there screwing around. I'm pulling reveals down. I'm going like, "Hey, Dad, guess how much this refrigerator is?" Wrong. And somebody yells from down in the end of the hallway, "Hey, what are you guys doing here?" And we got busted. We didn't have any badges. We didn't have employee badges. We didn't have any guest badges. And it was a big deal. It was some kind of gaming official. I don't know who it was, but they wanted Kathy Greco and Roger to dump the show. New prizes, new games, new everything.
Because you saw what was...
We saw everything. And so Kathy Greco immediately, she was like, "We can't do that. Barker's about to go on stage.
We're ready to go." Yeah.
And that was, by the way, Jim, that was the first time I ever heard anybody refer to Bob Barker as Barker.
Barker, yeah.
And when she said that, I thought, how disrespectful. Does Mr. Barker know this woman's out here saying Barker? You know what I mean? But to fast forward 25 years later, my first day at The Price is Right, I found out that's what everybody calls him. Maybe not to his face. That's not how you refer to him to his face, but in production, everything is shortened. You know that. It's not The Price is Right.
Joe, his wife, actually referred to him on Tattletales, and I think in an interview I watched recently with Dinah Shore when they were on together as Barker. Yeah, so, I told, he always credited her as being the person that really convinced him that he would be worthy. Talk about having that person mentoring. His late wife, Dorothy Jo, I believe passed in 81, 82, very early, was like his backbone in convincing him, "Barker, you can do this. Try out to be the host of The Price is Right."
Exactly. She heard him on a radio show that he did, kind of a radio game show. And when he got home, I've heard this story. I did 1,585 total shows of The Price is Right, and probably 900 of them were with Bob. And I probably heard this story 800 times. But when he got home from that radio show, he said, my wife said to me, Barker, that's the best thing I've ever heard you do. You should do more of that. And so because of that, Bob said, I'm going to be a show host, and this is what I want to do the rest of my life.
You know, I only wish I knew you and your father back then when I was at CBS Television City.
Wow.
I didn't know there was a door back there and a way to get in from a secret back entrance.
Yeah. I'm trying to see where you're standing. I think I know right where you're at. The Price is
Right, right there. It's the door for The Price is Right, right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're right there.
I know where you're at.
What an iconic building too, huh? What are they, what's happening with the actual building? Of course, The Price is Right is now out of Television City. They're in new studios in Glendale, California. But what is happening to the actual CBS Television City complex?
Well, as I understand, and I don't know a whole lot about it, but as I understand, the new owners are going to make it into a four-wall studio. And for folks that may not be familiar with that term, a four-wall is a studio complex or a studio room that you can come in and lease, and you can do anything you want in it. So it's literally four walls. There might be a grid to hang lights on, probably not, but you have to bring in everything. You have to bring in scrim to cover the white walls or the side walls of the stage. You got to bring in your set pieces. You have to bring in lighting. You have to bring in sound. You have to bring in cameras. So this place is turning into a four wall. And as I understand it, Stage 33 is completely gutted right now. I've seen some pictures online, and I've seen some pictures from friends who haven't posted them online yet. And it's completely, it doesn't look anything like what it used to. It is literally four square walls now. Nothing.
That stage that you were on was also home to the Carol Burnett show.
Yes. And many, 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 many other shows. Laughing. I can't even tell you them all. It's a lucky stage in Hollywood. People love lucky stages. And Stage 33 at CBS Television City was a very lucky stage. It had Goodson game shows in it for decades. A lot of goodwill and good energy is soaked up into the walls. Well, not anymore. They've ripped all the walls out. But there used to be decades and decades worth of good energy in that place. And it showed. Producers and and production companies would pay extra to get a lucky stage in Hollywood, like the Seinfeld stage over at the CBS lot in Radford. Yes. I mean, you can't get that stage now. I mean, that's a lucky stage. What was that Doug Heffern and Carrie and Doug? What was that show? They were in New York.
The King of Queens.
King of Queens, I believe,
yes.
Shot out of the Seinfeld studio. The second the Seinfeld wrapped and left, boom, they were in there right away. So very lucky stages are very sought after, and Stage 33, when we weren't producing on it, everybody wanted it. Bill Maher has it on the weekends. I think he did right up to the time they gutted it, but we had it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and then Thursday, Friday would be somebody else in there, and by Friday night they'd be striking whatever was in there for a day and a half and putting up the Bill Maher show for the weekend.
There's a great shot too that you shared.
That's Bob during his press conference after his last show. I'm sorry it's so grainy. It was a 1 second shot. I had 1 second to take this shot. I raised the camera and bam, I got it. I couldn't focus in time, but this was at a press conference right after Mr. Barker's very last episode ever. Before we had a big party for him across the street, Bob gave this press conference, and he did great all day. He kept it together all day. He was up. He was happy. He didn't seem down or depressed. And then at one moment, somebody, and this will do it, somebody asked him about Dorothy Jo in the early days. And boom, he dropped his microphone like that. And then he put his head down. And then his right hand came up, and he stuck the fingernail, his thumbnail of his right thumb into his lip so hard to keep himself from crying. Right. You could have heard a pin drop. The studio was absolutely quiet. There was probably 200 journalists from all over the world. Honest to God, China, Australia, you name it. Everybody was there for that day. And they were very respectful to Bob.
Very similar to the farewell that Johnny Carson had with the Tonight Show and all the fanfare and coverage. And he got a chance to say the goodbye. Bette Midler sang to him the night before, and just extraordinary. That's a blessing, because a lot of times these days, you know, when you are working for one of the studios or stations, it's people come in that are sent in, and you're given a cardboard box and you have 10 minutes, and they say, don't touch the computers, don't talk to anybody. You got 10 minutes, fill the box, empty your office, and you're out.
Yeah.
So to have a cake and, you know, to have people, you know, expressing how much you meant to them, and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And to have done it as many years as he had,
50 years every day on TV. I mean, that's a long time, man.
Generations of people. Here's another great shot we have here.
That was my first morning at Wheel of Fortune. This is the night right after Charlie O'Donnell passed away. Again, I told you I got the phone call from the executive producer of Wheel, Harry Friedman. Can you come in and fill in? Because, you know, they've got production scheduled. And these studios and the equipment, the cameras, the audio, everything, the grips have hauled in the stage stuff, you know, all everything about the show, it's loaded. I mean, it costs money, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars every day that you miss. I mean, you have booked these studios, you've signed these contracts, and you owe, whether you produce or not. And a show as big as Wheel, they're not going to miss a production day. So that was my very first morning recording some wraparound voiceover for Wheel of Fortune. Weird experience, man. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Man, it was like, well, I almost said it was like somebody died. Somebody did die. I mean, you could feel it. Yeah. Everybody in the studio was just, because everybody didn't find out until that morning. It was not released in the press overnight.
It was not.
They wanted to tell the entire Sony staff first. And so here I come in, and people that worked with me on Price, who now worked over at Wheel and Jeopardy, they were like, "Hey, Rich, what are you doing here?" And I didn't know what to say, because I was told nobody knew, you know. And luckily, Harry Friedman was very close to me, right with me. He was like, "Hi, everybody, come here. Can I make a quick announcement?" And, oh, it was horrible. It was very bad. Difficult, I should say. It was very difficult to come in under those circumstances.
I can imagine. Something else.
I came in after Rod passed away, but there were months. There were months that had passed, you know what I mean, between me and Rod. So coming in the next morning for Charlie O'Donnell, oh my gosh, it was very difficult.
One of the great voices. We sort of snagged this just because I wanted people to really see it, because I think it's such a beautiful thing that you shared and you posted. Not only just topical, but, you know, just sharing your own memories of Suzanne Somers with Barry Manilow and yourself. We just lost her. Tell us about this photo and memories. And this is a really great shot, Rich.
Sweet lady. This is in Palm Springs, California, one night after dinner. I was working, actually. I was doing a weather hit from the top of this mountain in the Coachella Valley outside of Palm Springs. Pardon me. And Barry and Suzanne were walking out of this restaurant. And I talk about this in the book. When you're on the air in a small market, when you're on TV in a small market, it's crazy how big a fish you are.
Yes.
It's nuts. And here comes Barry Manilow and Suzanne Somers. Oh my God! Hey, you're a weatherman.
There they are,
Rich Fields. Oh my God! You know,
they're excited to see you. Yeah.
Yes, I'm out of my mind. I can't even speak because I can't believe it. You know what I mean? Barry Manilow, Suzanne Somers. So that's kind of like my life in Palm Springs, and with most everybody I met there, Monty Hall, just so many great people. Peter Marshall, just a million great game show hosts and friends. So Palm Springs was something else. I think that's one of my, pardon me, a CBS2 jacket I'm even wearing there. So it looked like it might have been cold that night in Palm Springs, but she was delightful. I mean, I asked him, I said, look, can you guys hang around? I got a weather hit coming up here in a couple of minutes. and they did. And I put him on the air, and he was great. I mean, he was more of a protector for her than anything else. I mean, he was happy to be there, certainly. And he was giving and everything, Barry. But you could tell the love that this man had for Suzanne. Yeah. I mean, really close friends, I believe, for decades and decades and decades. And you can almost see it in this picture, as a matter of fact, how calm and just sweet they are, and not totally unassuming with me or anybody else. And Barry screwed around in the weather, and I screwed around with him, and I made Chrissy jokes, and it was wonderful. She was just delightful.
Absolutely. You know, when you look back at all, like you said, you're retired, but I think you're still connected. You're still doing your thing, and you're sharing this now with all of us in the book. And I'm sure there's more to come, and more books and more great material that you're sharing. When you look back at it all thus far, as it continues, the Richfield story continues, what are some of those blessings and joys that you call upon that have gotten you through the ups, the downs, you know, not believing in yourself and then picking yourself and up and dusting yourself off, and then some of the experiences of maintaining, you know, what you were given, these opportunities to be on The Price is Right, other shows, other work that you've done in the industry, not only to get the opportunity, but to go out there and knock them dead every day takes stamina to keep that going. The blessings and joys in your life, inspirations along the way in your life's journey that have kept you going.
Well, and I talk about this too when I speak. You know, I had this grandiose dream of being Bob Barker's announcer on The Price is Right. Yes. But I had these other little milestone events set up that I told myself, if I can do this, then I can get here and I can do that. So hitting these little milestone events as I was on the journey, every time I'd hit one of those little milestone events, whether it was a bigger radio station market or finally getting into LA or whatever they were, I would always celebrate those, because I knew that when I first started, you know, my timeline, I'm trying to get in the my timeline was probably, you know, this long, a lifetime away, or okay, now this long, a lifetime away. And, you know, I got these milestones in between before I get to The Price is Right. And every time I'd hit a milestone, boy, that timeline just starts shrinking and shrinking. And I talk about doing one thing every day that's going to get you one step closer to your ultimate dream in life. And all of a sudden you start seeing that timeline shrink and shrink and shrink. And you're not just doing one thing every day. You're doing 2, 3, 4 things every day of the week, even on Saturday and Sunday, because now it becomes part of your thought pattern and part of your life. And I got off on that. I reveled in that. Once I'd hit a little milestone event, and, you know, I'd, oh my God, I'm that much closer. And it would just drive me so much more, you know, to get that goal. And then to be given the job, the day Roger Dobkowitz called me and said I was the announcer on The Price is Right, it was like hitting the lottery, you know, in all ways, shapes, and forms. It was that ultimate dream in life that just came true. And I knew Christine and I weren't going to have to worry about much of anything anymore. You know what I mean? It was really fulfilling. Oh my God, I can't tell you how fulfilling it was. And then getting to Hollywood and being immersed in the job, and now more things are coming at you, and success begets success. Is that the right way to put it?
Yes, it does.
The more successful you are, the more people start throwing things at you. And I knew the entire time, I've got a thing that my wife, and if she was here right now, I'd call her in. I've got a problem in my life, Jim, where I say things like,
I like the way he turned around and looked at the door. That's happened live, right? Remember that video? The guy was doing a serious report and the kids ran in and the wife had to come grab the kids out.
Yeah. I've got a habit. I always thought it was a good habit. My wife calls it a bad habit, but I think she understands it now. But I got a habit where, good example, I'm not working at The Price is Right yet. I'm a weatherman out in Palm Springs. I'm scraping and trying. I'm working, you know, and I take my wife into Los Angeles for the weekend, and we drive past CBS Television City because I want to show her where The Price is Right is taped. And so we see it. Actually, I snuck her in, by the way, the same exact way Dad and I got in. Swear to God, got pictures of her spinning the big wheel and everything.
Gee.
So we're in Hollywood for the weekend, and we happen to pass by the building again on another day. And I said, oh my gosh, honey, look, remember when I used to do The Price is Right there?
Oh, right. Look at that building. Look at that logo, CBS.
But the way I worded it, and I did this a million times to her. Do you remember when I used to work there? And she'd be like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you'll see. You'll see.
Right.
You'll see.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I don't know how many years later, 10. I no longer work with Bob, no longer work with Drew. I'm working over in the Valley at CBS News, the network, KCBS, KCAL, and I'm driving in the car with Christine, and we passed by CBS Television City. And I said, hey, honey, remember when I used to work there? Boom. And she was like, oh, my God. You said that to me like 10 years ago. I was like, right, because I knew nothing was forever. You know, they say that job's forever. I hoped it would have been. Maybe it could have been, you know, if it weren't for evil forces, but nothing's forever. And so I tried to get her used to that. She was tagging along. She got onto my wagon, and my wagon was this broadcasting wagon, town to town, up and down the dial on radio, TV. Now I'm scraping and I'm starting at the beginning again of broadcasting and TV now, and trying to get into game shows. And so I would.
She was supportive. She was your Dorothy Joe.
I would forever project myself past having the job. Does that make sense? Not to getting the job, after I've had the job. And I'd say things like, remember when I blank? And to this day, she's like, God, I can't believe that. That is exactly right. You said that so many years ago. And I don't know, it's just my way of saying, not only will I have it, I want you to be ready for the day that we might not. Because that's the business.
We'll definitely make sure that a week from now, and maybe even tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now, 6 months from now, when you're in the car driving around town, you say to her, remember when I was on the Jim Masters Show live?
I'm positive I will.
She's going to say, yes, I was in the other room on the other side of the door. You said, don't open the door until you were done. I heard it. I was watching
you on YouTube in the living room.
I ate a whole bag of Ruffles potato chips as you were doing it. Oh. I've been through this with you, Fields. This is great. You've loved the ride, the ups and downs. It's
yeah, I sure did.
And now you're inspiring others, mentoring others, and empowering others.
I want to inspire others. I've got a lot to say.
Yeah.
I almost said I'd do it for free, but my agent tells me don't say that no more.
Not with this inflation. No way. What have you not done yet? I mean, you're doing this, but
what have I not done?
That is still on that list of yours.
Oh. No, I could have been done after leaving Hollywood. I could have been done, honestly, in my head, after CBS News Los Angeles. When I spent 6-7 years there, after 6+ years at Price. So I was with the network, over a decade, 11, 12 years. And when I was done with news in Los Angeles, and my wife and I sat down and we were like, where do we want to live now? Let's think about being done. Where do we want to end up? And we always said from day one that we would save all our money and we'd buy a house in the water in Clearwater Beach, Florida someday. And, thank God again, I'll mention again, thank God for Mr. Barker. That came to fruition, by him making me the announcer and The Price is Right. We zocked all that money away. I mean, we had great places in California, but I just mean, to retire and build up. So it was an easy decision. But when I came back home to Florida, it was weird because I really, in my head, I thought I was done. But then local radio, I did radio down here before I started doing anything. And so a lot of people knew me, from radio here. And they were like, hey, you want to, why don't you come on over to Beasley Broadcasting? We'll put you on Q105. I mean, Q105 is just powerhouse station in Tampa. And
yes.
That was like my boyhood station. And I was like, Q105. Now there's a bucket list item I haven't done. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything I thought about. You're asking me, what else would you like to, it wasn't anything I thought about, but I was like, oh, that'd be so cool, man. Everybody on the beach up and down the coast listening to me on the radio, that'd be awesome. So I did. I signed up with them, did about 3 years, and then COVID hit. And then somebody at CBS News put out to a local news director here in Tampa that I was in town, that this Los Angeles weatherman freaking was living right here. And so they contacted me through LinkedIn. Great reason to have all your bases covered with all social media, folks. Never thought a job would come at me off of social media. But this person contacted me, this news director contacted me and said, I understand you live right here in Tampa, Florida. I said, that's right. And they said, would you be interested in coming and doing weather for us? And I think I might have said, well, something like maybe, and they're like, how about just part-time? How about just coming in doing weekends? And I thought, well, you know what? That might be fun. And then boom, one thing leads to another. And all of a sudden it's full-time contract and you're 5 days a week and, and you're right back into the rat race again,
Again,
So,
just about right.
huh?
It's almost full circle from where you began with radio.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Traffic reports, weather,
Oh my God.
live remotes at the supermarket. Yeah, all that cool stuff.
Yeah. And it's hard to be around TV news for me because, it's changed so much.
Very, very.
You don't know who's telling the truth anymore.
And it's constant negative. Every story is
everything.
Constantly
That's
negative.
The way they want you. That's where they want you, Jim.
The world's ending. Everybody's dying. The world's ending. We all hate each other.
That's what they want.
I can't even.
Worried and depressed and looking for help. And guess who's going to help you?
I had one time. I
the
think
government, they say.
I had mentioned one time I had I don't know, one of those days where I had, I don't know, the laptop was on, the TV was on, all the media was on, all the technology was on, cell phone was going ringing and emails and texts. And I was like, we work in this industry where we're surrounded by all this. And I said, I got to shut all of this off right now. The TV, the radio, shut off the phone, bring down the computer. I'm going outside. This is just the overwhelm of the constant 24/7, not even time to breathe or sound, to savor what you accomplish, savor
Right.
what you've experienced, savor what you do, have time to think and celebrate. I've always been of the mindset, if you're going to do something, you're going to experience, a holiday with family or go on a vacation or you're going to go to a ball game or you've achieved a major accomplishment in your life. Take time to savor it. Don't just jump right to the next thing. I'm the one, I think I mentioned this the other night. I'm the one that when you go to the movie theater and we're all there together and it's that fabulous communal experience, which I love communal experiences, where, at least for a split second, we're all sort of feeling the same thing at the same time. That's very deep and very connecting. Then when everybody goes piling out, they cut each other off in the parking lot. But
Right.
Until that time, we're all there
Right.
together. But I'm the one that when the Titanic is sinking in the movie, when we get in the car, let's discuss.
Oh, really? Not me.
Let's discuss how did that impact you? How did you,
God, really?
could you imagine that? The feeling of it, right? The feeling of what we just experienced. Because we are in this next, world right now. Do you like that? Next.
Jim, first. You've coined it.
Yeah, right? Next. Triple N. So this is really cool, my friend. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I hope you can send folks to a link on your page, maybe when this is all done and over. Actually, if they just go to richfields.tv, and you can go to Amazon and search, but if you just go to richfields.tv, it's all right there. You can order the book. You can get it on Kindle.
Yes.
And I thank you so much for having me on, man. It's a real pleasure. You're a pro.
I really appreciate that. And as my father has always said, and I mentioned this on this show too, sage advice, you talk about your father so beautifully. My father too, Irish from New York City, great charismatic person. 7 years old, he says to me, Jimmy, remember this. Whenever anybody says something kind or nice to you, always say, thank you very much. And then ask them to please put it in writing and address it management.
Good advice. Dad's a good man.
How true is that, right, my friend?
Right, brother.
Rich Fields, truly an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it, man.
You are welcome back anytime. As I always say, we'll keep.
I'll do it. I'll do it again.
Yeah, we don't have to go this long. This was just, we were having a good,
Thanks.
we could do a 20-minute, 30-minute, 10-minute, whatever. But this was just, I was really looking forward to it. I've always
it's my pleasure. Again, I appreciate you very much.
I thank you very, very much. And let's definitely stay in touch, my friend, okay?
Will do.
And hopefully
Absolutely.
when we're visiting family in Florida, we'll come see and go get a sandwich at the diner.
Tell me when you're coming. I won't be here.
I thought you know all the good tuna melt places.
I do. Thanks, man.
You be well. All right.
All right, brother.
Take
Have a
care,
good
Rich.
night.
Congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
All right. Incomparable Rich Fields here on the Jim Masters Show Live series. Let me show you the book again. So many of you have been commenting during the show, which I think is absolutely awesome. And you're saying going to get the book. Let's see. We got the book right here. We got a little skinny version. There it is, gang. Nice, huh? You know what's cool about the show? We just let it roll. And guests can come on for, a long time, halfway, 20 minutes, however long they've got. These are real good, solid, almost historic conversations we have with our extraordinary guests that come in from so many different backgrounds, celebrity friends, guests, and just everyday people. And Rich, again, you got a good sort of background on his life, his passions. He was very open, very real. There again, trust your inner GPS, how trusting my intuition manifested my way to becoming Bob Barker's announcer on The Price is Right by Rich Fields. Available on Amazon and richfields.tv. She had a lot of wonderful stories with us too, and incredible stories about Bob Barker, Drew Carey, and of course, The Price is Right is still the #1 television show on all of daytime television right now. Still beats everything else. It's extraordinary. After all of these years of being on, the new Price is Right. Of course, the original host, was Bill Cullen, and that was in the 60s, early 60s. And then it sort of got shelved for a little bit, and then they came back with the new Price is Right in 1972, and Mark Goodson, Bill Todman tapped Bob Barker to host it after they saw Bob Barker for many years doing Truth or Consequences. And of course, there's been a bevy of fabulous announcers, and we, pay heed and homage to all of them. And starting with Johnny Olson, Rod Roddy, of course, Randy West has filled in as well. You remember Randy was on our show. And of course, having Rich Fields tonight and George Gray, who is the current announcer that you see on The Price is Right. But just to hear a little bit about behind the scenes, what it's like, to be on the stage 33 there at Television City. And the way he manifested it, he dreamed that he would be with Bob Barker on The Price is Right. So, and even to the point where he was homeless, you may never have known that, he was homeless in Hollywood. That sounds like the title of a Lifetime movie, doesn't it? Homeless in Hollywood, but he was homeless in Hollywood because he didn't want to give up. He didn't give in. And, it's an interesting story. Everybody has their versions. Everybody has their stories. And it was really cool to have him on the show. Again, affiliated not only with The Price is Right, but Wheel of Fortune and several other game shows as well. Weather in Los Angeles for Channel 2 and Channel 9, KCAL, as well as KCBS television, and also in Florida. And he's a motivational speaker, which is the work he's doing now. And really, really cool stuff. And of course, he's an author now as well. And again, wasn't this a great shot? Barry Manilow, Suzanne Summers, and Rich Fields. What a great memory that is as well. Cool stuff. A little trip down memory lane, but also keeping you abreast of some of the cool things that Rich, a fellow broadcaster, I call him, broadcast colleague. You guys know I work in television, radio, stage and film as well. So a lot of what Rich was saying, I was very in tune with. Rich, what is the name of our next contestant? Come on down. Cool stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this episode, everybody, we encourage you to celebrate the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series. We would love it if you give this episode a like. There's a thumbs up like. Share this on your social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. It doesn't cost anything. You just click subscribe. You see that subscribe little icon there, and leave a comment. Interact with us. Leave a comment on the YouTube channel as well. We would absolutely love that, and we appreciate your doing that here at the Jim Masters Show Live. That would be really, really cool for you to do that. And we thank those of you who do that as well, those of you who celebrate what we're doing here at the Jim Masters Show Live series, where we're bringing back the lost art of conversation. Great guests coming up. We've done well over 1,000 episodes. I think this is 1,002 in just 3.5 years of our entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series. And it's been really cool, and it continues to be extraordinary. And I don't need this anymore because he's not there. You know what I want to do? I want to toast him with our I Dream a Genie mug. We were doing a lot of television today. There is the I Dream a Genie mug, little coffee here. Gang, this was really awesome, and we always have a good time here on the show. These shows are unscripted. This is conversational. It's warm. It's fun. Light, love, levity, and all the rest. One more time. There is his book. Check it out. Amazon, richfields.tv. Our very special guest, again, here on the Jim Masters Show Live series, Rich Fields. Announcer for The Price is Right, many other game shows, motivational speaker, meteorologist, author. And he was really open. You know, he talked about his health. He talked about his life, his family, and just all these different experiences. And that's what life's all about. You know, you never know what life's going to bring you. So get out there and do it. Believe in yourself. You know, we've been talking about this for a long time on the Jim Masters Show Live series. We've been talking about, you know, getting out there and connecting and doing what you need to do and inspiring. And I always say, love one another. Take time to love yourself as well. It's very important to do that and believe in yourself and get out there and knock them dead. Some of our viewers have been commenting throughout. We welcome everybody who's new. We thank everybody who's been watching and having a good time with us. Fantastic conversation. Loved every minute of it. Thank you, Jim and Rich. Thank you, Maureen in Arizona. Appreciate that. And some of our faithful, regular, lovely viewers here on the Jim Masters Show Live series. Thank you, Jim. This was awesome. Thank you for all you do for us. The pleasure is all mine. Yes, always leaving the porch light on for our guests. We love it. You guys are great. Thanks for all these comments in the Loverty Hall chat room. And again, if you would like to comment and interact with us further, leave a comment right under the episode in the comments section on our YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe, all the rest. Takes a village. And you can find me as well on social media. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Jim Masters TV. You know, I tried to make it easy for everybody. The YouTube channel where we house all these episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live series is Jim Masters TV. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, which is now X, is Jim Masters TV. We love you all. Truly, thanks for all the love, support, all the kind comments, everything that you've been doing and saying and sharing. Telling us how we're bringing back the lost art of conversation with a lot of laughs, a lot of good conversation, and good times. And we really, really value and appreciate all of you. So with that said, I am your host, Jim Masters, thanking you for your time this time. Till next time, if you enjoyed yourself, let us know. Come back and see us again. We'll be waiting for you at JMS Loverty Hall for more of our series we call the Jim Masters Show Live. Really great episode. Thanks to Rich Fields. And thanks to all of you. Be well. Take care. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.